Can this watch save you $3,000? Well, like the Tudor BlackBay 58 bronze, this is a 200-meter diver. Like the BlackBay, this is made from an aluminum bronze alloy, which is highly corrosion resistant, and like the BlackBay, this comes in at 39 millimeters in diameter. However, unlike the BlackBay, this is only $750, whereas the Tudor is $4,000, which makes this a very serious sub $1,000 alternative. The real question is, what's the catch? At this $800 price point, I'm happy to see that Venezianico has put in the effort of making the unboxing experience feel luxurious, with their plush box and the watch being front and center after taking the lid off. However, I wish they had included a cleaning cloth in the box instead of charging $20 extra for it. This Venezianico Nerete Bronzo 39 is powered by the trusty Miyota 9039, which runs at 4 Hz and has a power reserve of 42 hours. And according to some articles online, it means that this movement actually rivals the Swiss Sellita SW200 in terms of specifications. However, it should be noted that the Miyota rotor is unidirectional, meaning that it is a lot noisier than its Swiss counterpart. This also comes with a flat sapphire crystal with AR coating, which sometimes looks invisible in certain lighting, so I have to give kudos to Venezianico for pulling that off. Also, this comes with BGW9 Super Luminova, and I was very pleasantly surprised to hear that this comes with 200 meters of water resistance, making it a proper dive watch and on paper competing with the likes of the BlackBay 58. So just for complete transparency, Venezianico did send over this watch and I don't have to send it back. However, I'm not receiving any monetary compensation, nor do I have any affiliate links. And as always, creative control is completely my own, meaning that my thoughts are completely my own. So this watch has a very summery ethos with that bronze and white pairing alongside the blue oceany BGW9 Super Luminova, and I think that this is the perfect companion on a tropical trip as it really does exude Mediterranean summer. And Venezianico as a brand tends to focus more on design compared to their other microbrand counterparts. So through a specifications lens, it's really easy to see that other microbrands are offering a lot more than Venezianico. And while I do care about specifications to an extent, the reality is that the watches that get the most wrist time are the ones that are the most reliable, wearable, and are the nicest to look at and just forget about the time when I glance down at my wrist. And this watch definitely checks all 3 of those boxes. Also, I think it makes a lot of sense to focus on design, especially for a bronze diver, because chances are if you're already in the market for a bronze diver, you're less likely to be concerned about the pure specifications of a watch. So if you are enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button and ding that notifications bell to get notified on the latest videos on this channel. I would also recommend leaving a comment in the comment section down below because I'm relatively diligent in responding to the majority of those comments. So the majority of this case is vertically brushed, with the top of the mid case having some englage on it. And I do appreciate the chamfering on this watch because it makes it look less tooly, and generally when watches are less complex in terms of their finishing, it usually is indicative of a company cutting corners. And this watch is made out of a special bronze alloy called QAL9-4, which was actually used in 19th century diving helmets because it doesn't rust, deteriorate, or crack underwater. Rather, it actually oxidizes slowly and develops a patina that strengthens the structure over time. And I'm no bronze expert, but after reading some articles online about the different alloys that Tudor and Venezianico use, I've realized that they're quite similar in terms of their properties, especially in terms of their low propensity to corrode over time. And the Caseback has 4 horses on it, which represent the 4 horses of St. mark. And I know this is a smaller gripe, but I wish that the caseback was actually upright. And I'm glad that they use a closed caseback, because although when I was just starting out in this hobby, I really liked open casebacks because I like to see the movement at work. After handling a few watches, I've realized that I don't find basic movements to be all that interesting to look at, and I really appreciate the closed caseback because it allows this watch to be as thin as it is. Also, this crown is made out of bronze, which is really nice to see, and it has an embossed cross logo on it, and it is really smooth to wind. If you are a bigger fan of the channel, I would highly recommend checking out the Top Ticker Team membership, which allows you to get a few different perks, such as early access to videos such as this, priority response to comments, and more frequent updates, and tons of other perks I would recommend checking out. So I measured this in at 39 millimeters in diameter, 45 millimeters in lug to lug, 10.6 millimeters in thickness, and 5 millimeters at the crown, with a 20 millimeter strapaholic lug width. So one of the major concerns about this watch is its flashiness. And while I do agree that especially on the first day, it can be quite attention grabbing, just after 2 days, it started patinating and aging, which toned down the look of this watch, making it more wearable. So I can assure you that it will not be as flashy as it is when you get it out of the box. And prior to getting this watch, I wasn't the biggest fan of bronze watches. I thought that they weren't for me because I didn't like the way that they patinaed. But after getting this watch, it's seriously changing my mind because I do really dig the way that this is aging. So this comes in an ivory white dial that glistens in the sunlight, and it reminds me of a satin pillow. And even though I'm a really big fan of the way that this dial looks, I'm pretty sure that for the general public, most people would prefer the black dial variation. And instead of just painting on their logo, at the 12 o'clock marker, Veneziano decided to apply their cross logo, which just adds a sense of depth. And small details like this really allow this watch to stand out amongst similarly priced watches. And the indices on this watch have gold borders around them, and they're filled with BGW9 lume, which is great for my eyeballs when checking the time at night so they don't sear off when I use my phone. And the hands are semi-skeletonized, with the tips being filled with BGW9 lume, and they follow the same sort of theme with the gold bordered hands. And initially I wasn't a huge fan of the semi-skeletonized look, but after noticing that the skeletonized part of the hand is so perfectly cut that when it crosses the 12, you can still see the Veneziano logo, I really came around to it. And the text is really bold and legible, and the word bronzo is actually in a bronze color. Again, these small details really do add up. Even though I am a really big fan of the way that this dial looks, I will always be the one to vouch for a date window, and I know it would ruin the symmetry, but that's just me. But I really do appreciate the fact that this doesn't have a ghost date function. So something interesting to note is that this movement is my most accurate movement out of my entire watch collection. It is almost running perfectly at plus 0.2 seconds a day. I've been monitoring this like a maniac to see if I was going crazy, and every single day, the second hand hits the 12 o'clock marker when the minute changes. And I have never experienced that on any watch, especially not a Miyota watch, so I don't think that you'll get the exact same accuracy. I think I just got really lucky with this Miyota because the movement isn't regulated. However, I just wanted to mention that. The bezel is made out of the same bronze alloy that the case is, which is really nice to see in terms of design continuity. And also the markers are fully lumed with BGW9, which is not only aesthetically pleasing, but also quite useful. And the bezel has a coin edge, which allows this bezel to be quite grippy. Additionally, the bezel sounds really crisp. The only downside for the bezel, in my opinion, is the backplay. Now, the backplay isn't awful, but considering that this watch is $750, I would expect Veneziano to have better QC. So this watch comes on a white tropical FKM rubber strap that is extremely comfortable out of the box, and it comes with a bronze buckle that is signed on both sides. And again, these small details just make it seem as though this strap was tailor-made for this watch. And also the strap has quick release buttons that I am very appreciative of, because I have tons of 20mm straps that can now easily just fit on to this watch. The only gripe I have with this strap is the fact that it has a flat edge instead of being curved to the watch. And I think that just because this watch is so design oriented, I'm surprised that they didn't just purchase a strap that was specifically curved to the watch. In terms of the wearing experience, I have basically nothing but positives to say about this. I think that this watch is one of the only divers that truly fits my wrist, and I think it comes down to the 45.5mm lug-to-lug length. And the watch in general just looks really good, and other people seem to agree with me, because random strangers have complimented my watch because of how good it looks and how well it pairs with my outfits. And I think that kind of leads on to the second part of the watch, and I think that this watch pairs with a variety of different summer attire. And I think that if you have a 6-inch wrist or above, this watch will definitely suit your wrist. And if you are concerned that this watch will look too small on your wrist, Venezianico also offers a 42mm variation. So obviously, when comparing this to the Tudor completely outdoes the Venezianico, especially in the movement department, where it has a COSC certified MT5400 movement that is significantly better than the Miyota 9039. And it obviously has better resale value and much more brand cachet compared to the Venezianico. And I mean, even though the Tudor is a lot better than the Venezianico, you kind of expect that, considering that the Venezianico is 4 times less than the Tudor. But in terms of the catch with the Venezianico, there is no real catch. So honestly, this watch is pretty great, especially at that sub $1,000 price point. So, should you buy this watch? Well, I definitely think that this watch has some downsides in terms of the strap not curving to the watch case itself, the bezel having some backplay, and it not having a date function, which is kind of a personal preference. I think that if you're in the market for a beautiful summery bronze watch that doesn't weigh your wrist down and is under $1,000, I really can't think of a better option. So I want to thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate it, and I want to give a special thanks to Dean and Steven, who are the current Time Ticker team members. I really appreciate your support, and I want to thank you for just watching this video. As always, it's kind of crazy to me to think that I'm just talking about watches in this room and people are watching this. So as always, I hope that this channel patinas like your favorite watch. I will see you on another episode on the Time Ticker.